Alright, so today I am going to be comparing a hardtail Strat to a more traditional, I guess, Trem Strat. So if you don't know what that means, basically I have a hardtail Stratocaster here, and what that means is that this bridge doesn't have a tremolo unit in the back of it. This is a direct string through guitar, a bit like a Telecaster. Whereas on a more sort of traditional tremolo Strat, the bridge has these springs at the back, so it's hollowed out, and you've got this big block here, and it enables you to use the sort of whammy bar, which isn't in there at the moment, to affect the pitch of the notes. But more interestingly than that, because I don't actually use the whammy bar a lot, is what is the actual effect on the sound? The fact that one has a block of metal in there and a lot of the wood taken out, and the other one has the strings through the body. What difference is it actually making? So today we're going to work through a few different pickup positions and sounds using my 2-Rock Classic Reverb signature and the Mad Professor Supreme pedal. So yeah, I think we should get straight into a little demo and then see what that sounds like. Okay guys, before we get to the demo, a couple of things that I wanted to say. First of all, this video is purposefully being made in order for me to do a sort of behind the scenes video. So I'm actually launching both those videos very soon, one after the other. If you're watching this one now, when it's just come out, it's probably in a couple or few hours, a long length, maybe 40-50 minute long video of behind the scenes. How do I make videos? How do I record them? How do I come up with the idea, film them, edit them? Everything is going to come out. And I've made this simple video to be the basis on that, why that, of that behind the scenes video. So, I just wanted to say, if you're new to the channel, I've not gone that in depth with this video on purpose because I needed to keep it simple so I could just show you how I made it. The rest of the video will run as a normal video. This one, I made it as short as possible. The only other thing I want to say is I showed you a 3-tone burst Trem Strat just now that I was going to do the demos with. I filmed the demo for the hardtail in E-flat tuning, realised that the Trem guitar was in standard tuning, so I just picked up a different Strat that I've got that's in E-flat tuning to do for the demos. Otherwise, I just didn't want you to get confused as to why I'm playing a different Strat. Anyway, I'm going to butt in between some of the demos and tell you what I think about it. So I've heard people say that you should think of a hardtail Strat as being more like a Telecaster. Certainly in the way it's built, yes, it is more like a Telecaster. You haven't routed out all that wood, you don't have a big hunk of metal in there, and you've got the string through. The string is in contact with the guitar in a different way. But how does that transfer into the feel and the playing and the sound? Nah, it doesn't feel like a Telecaster. Ultimately, the pickups make a huge difference. These are Strat pickups. You know, I'm assuming other elemental parts of a Strat, the shape of it, the thickness of it, anything else like that makes some difference. Ultimately, it sounds like a Strat, but I get what they mean in terms of the way the notes ring out. I feel like there's a little bit more sustain here, and I also feel like the notes are less hollow, but ultimately, it's not a huge difference for a start. Even the fact there might even be a bit more warmth as well. And in some ways oomph, you know, when you push hard, it's just more, you know, the guitar body has not had bits taken out of it. The wood maybe can be more resonant, but it's not a positive or a negative. It's slightly different. As I said, I think I've said before, for your listener, no difference. Absolutely zero difference. Only for us guitar loving geeks is there a difference. Ultimately, it could come down to some preference to how you want to play. If you want to get those really bell-like Strat tones, it's possible that the Trem versions are just going to be better for you. If you want to give it a bit more edge, And I think if you crank everything, your amp and everything, you will probably hear more and more and more difference, because there's going to be a slightly different edge to the notes coming out of the hardtail. But as you'll hear as we go on, it's just not a huge difference. I also want to say, this can't be scientific. Even if there were the same pickups involved and everything else about the guitars was the same, it still couldn't be scientific. But in this case, they're very different guitars. But, you know, this is supposed to be broad strokes, and literally we can hear that it's not night and day. So I think there in the middle position is actually quite a big difference, though. The more I've listened back to that 3 or 4 times to hear what I think the difference is. Yeah, and the upper frequencies, the upper mids, there's more chiminess in the hardtail. It rings a bit more. Yeah, you know, there's a top end to those notes that isn't there with the Trem Strat. So the difference in the middle is it's bigger than it is in the neck. That same sort of top end chime is present in the other positions, but ultimately I found the middle position to be the biggest difference. I'm not sure what the significance of that is. The other thing being there's a humbucker in the hardtail Strat here. Now, although it's not any sort of high output humbucker that's meant to make metal music, this is clearly a vintage voiced humbucker that's meant to work in the context of a traditional Strat sound. It's just a slightly beefier sound than you get on the Trem, on the single coil bridge. Ultimately, the character is very similar. Now, I've noticed before that if I crank everything up and play through that humbucker, I get a lot of this mid-hump sound that I don't love, actually. That's one thing I don't like about this guitar, which I'm going to explore in a full review of the guitar. But that's probably more down to the humbucker than it is down to the fact that it's a hardtail. So take from that what you will. Okay, we're going to go with the pedal now. Again, in the neck there, they're reasonably similar. I just think that the Hardtail one has a slightly lifted tone compared to the Trem one. Now, just so you know, the Trem one has Monty's 63 custom pickups. I find that they're wonderful pickups. They're pretty hairy, they're full on, really Hendrixy feeling pickups. The ones that are in the Hardtail are Fat 50s pickups, and they're also big and awesome and beautiful. Slightly different sound and feel, but not massively. So I think it's a reasonable comparison here. We're not talking about really glassy Strat tones in either guitar. So to be honest with you, in my mind, I had thought there'd be more of a difference when I heard them side by side. In the playing, there does feel to be more of a difference. The Trem Strat is really familiar feeling. Spent my whole time playing guitars playing with a Trem Strat, and so the Hardtail does feel slightly different. It's not such a huge difference that it would put me off having a Hardtail. I have a Hardtail, clearly. I don't use a whammy bar very often unless I'm really doing something very specific. So I don't miss the fact of having that. And if anything, it leaves me feeling less... Because sometimes when I've got my tremolo bar in, I feel a bit like, oh, I need to try and use it. And then I just use it randomly. And it's unnecessary. I don't really play anything that needs it on a Strat. I quite like a Bigsby on a humbucker guitar for a bit more of that wobbly effect. But yeah, my overall thing is that your listener's not going to hear it particularly, but you can still use it to sculpt your tone slightly. It's another element in the whole game of it. But let me know what you think down in the comments if you've had a Hardtail or let me know what you think about the difference in sound. But more importantly, this video, as I said, was made so that I could do a behind the scenes video and show you how I filmed it, how I've recorded it. And I think you might find that fun and interesting to watch. It's quite a long one. Go grab yourself a drink. And it will be up, either it's already up or it will be up very soon. There'll be a link in the description and in the comments and everything. So, yeah, cheers.